Hi everyone, my name is Cindy. I'm from Monsoon Calamity, and I've been getting a lot of questions recently about my continuous warping system that I'm using on my 16-inch Ashford rigid heddle loom. So I thought I'd put together a little video series showing how it works and how I use it. People are also wondering why I do it. People don't understand what the point is. For me, the point is I was really having a lot of trouble warping my loom. I have several medical conditions that are quite painful and affect my back and my neck mostly. And it was difficult for me to warp my loom, and that meant that I just wasn't spending as much time weaving as I wanted to because I really love the weaving. So I had to come up with a system that meant that I didn't have to warp my loom anymore. And this was what I came up with. It took me several months of trial and error, and I came up with this. It's kind of based on what you see in large factories, where you see all those spools of yarn feeding off of into large machines to make thicker yarn, basically, or garments, if they're knitting machines. Anyway, I understand that this probably isn't a system that will work for everyone, but if you're curious and maybe want to try it yourself, I hope this helps. So let's go to the first step.
Okay, so step one, I have set up my pegboard along a nice long wall so it doesn't wreck the floor. I just put some towels under it, and at the top I actually used some dishcloths that I had made and stitched them right into the pegboard, and that protects the wall behind the pegboard. It also allows for a little bit of space for the hooks so that the hooks don't hit the wall on the back. To start with, I've set up my pegs. I know that I need 120 of them, actually 119 when all said and done, but I put up 120. And I have separated them into rows so that I know which row goes into which section of my loom. And next I will be putting all of the little spindles of yarn on them, and I'll show you what I do with them in the next section. Okay, so I'm all set up with my little spindles of yarn on each little peg. Oh, hi Luna. Yeah, we're gonna weave? Yeah, so my next step will be to pull each of those strands through the holes of the milk crate and up to the back of my loom through the heddle. You'll notice that I've taken off my, I don't know what it's called actually, the piece on the back where you normally attach your warp, because I don't really need it in this system. Yeah, so I'll get a few of those done and then I'll show you what I'm doing exactly step by step. Okay, so I've got my first section of threads pulled through. So I start, see at the top there, one. I actually started at the bottom, did the bottom one first, and went up to the top. Pull the thread down through one of the holes. It's kind of just lucky that this one has 6 little hexagons across, so it'll be really easy for me to figure out which holes to use. And then those threads go up over the back beam, and then starting in the middle, which I do have marked. Little marker. Yeah. Starting in the middle there with the bottom one. And that way I know exactly which thread is in which spot, which can be really handy if you want to do a pattern or a stripe. Then you know which thread to change out on the pegboard. So I'm going to keep doing that. Each section gets its own little hexagon hole. And I start from the bottom each time and go up and go outwards on the heddle. And then I'll do the opposite for the other side. This step will take quite a long time. I find it hard, I find it tedious. It's hard on my back, but you only have to do it once when you set this up, because after that you will just, when one spool of yarn runs out, you can just attach a new one and it'll just continuously feed. So this is a one-time setup, and it's very, very worth it. Now if you're wondering what I have on my spools here, I'm doing a little experiment with some DK weight merino. I would normally use an A2 cotton on these spools, and I probably will switch back to an A2 cotton again, just slowly change it out as they run out. But right now I'm doing a little merino experiment. So on here, various yarn makers, Yarn Studio UK, Death by Yarn, Wee Chickadee Woolery, Mineville, Wool Project I think it's called, probably a couple of others that I'm not remembering the names of, just a lot of DK that I had in my stash already. So yeah, I will come back when I have all of these threaded through and show you how to tie it to the front. Back soon. Now I've pulled all of my warp threads through and up over the back beam and through the heddle. They've all gone through all the little holes down there in an organized way so I know where all the threads are. And I'm starting to tie them onto my front piece. I don't know what that's called, sorry. At this step, a lot of people will tie them on in bunches, and that's completely fine. That's personal preference. It is quicker. Because I'm only going to do this once, I will never have to do this again once it's set up. I'm tying them on individually just to have less bumpiness at the beginning of my weaving. But really, it's completely fine if you want to tie them on in bunches. It will be faster. I'll be back to talk about how I weight the sections of yarn at the back of the loom.